Well, hello and welcome to Bowtie Life, where we talk mostly about life in the garden. I'm Bowtie David, Bowtie, and we live in Destin, Florida, now zone 9B with the new maps. And today we are going to be enlarging these beds for the Sunchoke to grow in. It is a very prolific and invasive plant if you don't control it. And so I've used these pots to kind of keep it in control, keep it contained, and we're going to be expanding this year because the experiment last year was successful. Coming up in near future videos, we're going to be doing just a ton of spring 2024 seed starting. Lots of seeds to plant, lots of things to get going, lots of backup plants to do, etc., etc., etc. So be sure to subscribe to Bowtie Life on YouTube so that you can stay caught up on everything going on in the garden and see what's happening. To those of you who have subscribed, I want to thank you. You are my heroes. You've made Bowtie Life what it is today, and we're continuing to grow and we're pushing to the next level, and hopefully soon when we get there we'll be able to do more things. So let's get right on with this. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. So before we really get going here, it is a bit of a windy day, so I'm probably going to end up voicing over some of this video. Right now the wind isn't too bad. The windmill is blowing a little bit, and yes, I do still have one more snowman. It is the first half of February. This is my Valentine's Day snowman, and you can go back and watch the front and side garden tour to see my explanation for why it's up for another week and a half, something like that. So till the 14th. That's actually not a week away. Good grief, that's 4 days away. This is the 10th of February. So getting into 2024. So we're dealing with sunchokes, also known as Jerusalem artichokes or sunroot to the original inhabitants of the Americas, and before Europe came. But sunchokes are a root vegetable, and they make a tuber that is a phenomenal substitute for potatoes for diabetics. It offers the flavor of the potatoes and texture and everything else identical to potatoes, but it is without the starch of a potato. It doesn't drive up the blood glucose like a potato does. So we enjoy these every once in a while. I don't have a lot of them growing, but I do have some, and I want to expand. And here in this video you can see we've got two smaller containers in the front and two slightly larger containers in the back, and you're sitting right on the edge of the road, so you might hear car traffic. But anyway, these containers, whenever you're growing any kind of invasive plant, you really need to be careful, because these sunchokes, these things are invasive. Their roots, you plant one, their roots grow out to an area so big, and then next year they'll be growing up everywhere, and then those will spread out, and every year they'll expand out another 1, 2, 3 feet and then grow more. And so if you can contain them in something like this nice big container, then you can actually have a bed and not worry so much about them being invasive. Some other plants that you will probably know as invasive, particularly mint. Oh my goodness, the mint, it grows in my grow bags. I let it grow as thick as I can get it, and I break these up. But if I pull back all this dead stuff, you can see underneath is more mint plants, and these things just proliferate. Another thing that grows in my yard is dichondra. Now dichondra is a weed. It's a detoxifier in the diet, I believe in the soil also, and I do allow it to grow. I don't pull it out. I pull out the invasive dollar weed that we get a lot of. But another common plant that's very invasive is, of course, strawberries. And strawberries put out these little runners and try to grow new plants all year long. And really proliferate. In fact, this bed over here with the strawberries in it, it started off with 40 plants, and now there's hundreds in there. And I've not managed it very well, except for where you see the ground cover fabric, where I've got holes that are limiting where the strawberries can grow. So I say, first thing I'm going to have to do, of course, is trim back all these dried up and dead sunchokes. They are kind of a cane. They're very light and fluffy branch. You can see, I mean, they're very easy to break. They have kind of a styrofoamy center to them. They kind of crush real easy. But anyway, I'm going to start with a little bit of trimming. So I like to save canes from stuff like this that I'm cutting out, but these things are not really strong enough for anything to grow up. Maybe the sugar snap peas, but I already have good trellises for those. These are very lightweight, very crumbly, and so I don't even save these. I cut them up, put them out on the road. We have a great waste management team that takes our bulk waste, so these will be gone in no time. So at this point, I'm going to be doing a lot of voiceover, and about 25 minutes of it as we go through this project. If you wish to go ahead and fast forward to the 31-minute mark, please don't feel guilty. That is just fine. And you can probably tell we are having a thunderstorm right now here in the panhandle of Florida while I'm recording this, but we'll carry on anyway. So yeah, these canes, there's a lot of them. I don't know how many plants actually ended up growing. There were like 3 tubers in each one of those, or maybe those bigger pots on the left were probably 4 tubers, and they grew really good. So I was so happy with our yield. I still haven't even harvested those 2 larger pots. I will save those for another need. The cool thing about Sunchokes is right there where they're at is really one of the best places to store them. Just let them sit in the ground. If you wish to eat some, you go out and dig up some. And the way these, you'll see here in a little bit, the way these Sunchokes grew is actually surprisingly easy in these pots. The success of this experiment is beyond description for me. I was so excited to have seen how these went. If I knew how well it was going to go when I started, I would have put in bigger pots to begin with. So these 3 little posts, I put these up to begin with. A lot of times when so the first year I did these things grew to 12 feet tall. They were enormous. But whenever you put something from the ground into a pot, it tends to make it smaller. And it did make it a little smaller. They only grew to about 10 feet tall this time. But I put those little ones because I thought, oh, maybe they're going to be just little stubbly things. Well, they were definitely not little stubbly things. It outgrew those little posts in no time. So yeah, I won't be using those here, though I keep them anyway because I'm sure I'll use them somewhere. But they were left with the house when we bought the house. It's very nice. So these taller posts, I will be returning those at the end. You can see that I just kind of measured out where the big pot is going, the tree planting pot is going to go. And that's what that is. A tree would have come in that. I don't know if it was the previous owner or maybe something he scrapped. It also, all these black pots came with the house, and I'm more than happy. This house, when it was on the market, was billed as a gardener's paradise, and both Mrs. Bowtie and myself, we felt like this was our home literally the moment we saw it. It's been 2.5 years ago, but I can remember like it's yesterday. Okay, so yeah, I tried to move that thing. There's no chance. So yeah, we moved into this house, and we'd been looking for a house for 4 years. So anyway, the plan here is I'm actually going to save the soil out of these pots. Now, the soil. Let's talk about soil for just a second. Sunchokes require very little. These are about the simplest crop that you can grow. In fact, you want something simple, these things just grow. If you feed them or not, they're going to grow. They might grow a little more prolifically or bigger if you feed them. They didn't get a lot of food, but they did get some of the same horse bedding compost mixed in with this soil. That's why it's kind of dark. Remember, our sand is actually pretty white, and I know that I mixed in this, and it's mostly sand in there, but I mixed in this sand with a bit of the horse bedding compost. So here I'm just starting to go around the edge, and that was the interesting thing. These tubers grew mostly around the edge of these pots, which means if I wanted to go back and get these again, then harvest more. I know where they are. They're around the edge of these pots. There were a few in the middle, but this sand is actually pretty well fed, and so they grew great in here. They grew great. It kind of made this wall right here, this random wall from the fig tree on the left all the way down to the sidewalk. I was very pleased with it, very pleased. So I'm shoveling this sandy soil, very sandy soil, which makes it drain very well, into the wheelbarrow, not only to save it, but so I can also kind of poke through it and get all these tubers out. And I wasn't sure how much I was going to find. Wait till the end. Well, you already saw the shot of how much I got out of just these 2 pots. That's a tuber that I sliced in half with a shovel. That's the danger. In fact, it's at this point I realized, oh, they're all growing around the edge. You can see me being a little more careful about getting right down the edge of the pot as I'm digging these out and picking them out as I go. And they're not real big. I suspect that if in fact, I would like to let one of those bigger pots up there go without much harvesting, if any, which could be very possible, but I want to see if maybe next year these tubers will grow larger. That's my big hope, my goal, my dream, because these tubers can get pretty big. I mean, potato size, which is what they will be substituting, and I'm a diabetic, so they are a perfect substitute for diabetics. If you love potatoes, these will not drive up, if you're diabetic, these drive up your blood glucose. But just potatoes are just so good, roasted potatoes with a little bit of olive oil and some garlic and onion powder and salt and pepper. Stick it in the oven for a while, and you got a great dish. That's what I'm going to be doing with some of these. I'll mention again here after a while that we have this health class going on at our church, and it's on Tuesday nights at 6:30, and it's open to the public. So if you're local and you want to attend a really great class on how to change your life habits, Dr. Furman, we're going through a video of his each week, a short video, and then having a discussion. But you're welcome to join us. Now, so I pulled that pot out. I just wanted to show you. This is a blind snake. It's kind of a wormy looking thing, and I poked it there. You tap it and they kind of go nuts. I didn't hurt it or anything. I just kind of touched it. And there's another one over here. There were 3 or 4 of them in here. I was very surprised. I've actually never seen more than 1 or 2 of them at a time. There's another one up here. Oh, and then the grubs. I think I cut that video out. The grubs. There were a lot of grubs in here. Now, okay, so normally we don't like things like grubs in our soil. Interestingly enough, and of course the worm life was amazing. Interestingly enough, these sunchokes were not consumed. They were beautiful, untouched, no insect damage, and there are not very many pests that will actually affect these sunchokes, which is just truly amazing. Not only do they grow good, but there's just not a lot to hurt them, and they're beautiful. They grow yellow flowers. You've seen in some of the garden tours, if you've watched, particularly around August and September, these things start coming out with their yellow flowers. They look like kind of a sunflower, a multi-head sunflower. They're smaller flowers that smell like chocolate. just like cocoa. It's just a delicious smell, and the butterflies love it, the bees love it. It is just a massive pollinator attractor for that season. But believe me, they do not taste like chocolate. I actually tried one and it was nasty. But anyway, so I'm going around here. I turned the pot over so that I can get the whiter end, because the top is where the whiter end is going to be. And I go around with this sharpshooter shovel and basically mark around. Now I have irrigation in here somewhere, and I was pretty sure it wasn't here. And you'll see right here, I hit something. I got a little nervous. I was like, uh-oh, what am I hitting? I was pretty sure that it was not the irrigation. That irrigation head up there to the left, that's actually one that I placed there, and it actually comes straight out from the driveway. So I know it doesn't come down from there. But you still got to be careful. And you know, I've driven a lot of these posts into the ground, and so far I've been fortunate and haven't hit an irrigation pipe yet. Of course, I know as soon as I say that, my luck's probably going to change. Yeah, I know. You can comment below, how many times have you ever had that happen? Murphy works for me full time. So anyway, I've got it outlined, got it pushed out of the way, got my space cleared, putting down this tarp so that I can put the rest of this soil on that tarp. And the biggest reason why I'm enlarging this is that section of grass just on the closest side of those two pots. It was very difficult to maintain. I could stick the mower up in there, but it was just a little chook out of the yard. It was kind of a pain to take care of. It got out of hand, and I would rather just have a big pot there that the Sunchokes can grow in. Love the Sunchokes. I love these Sunchokes. These are awesome. And we can come out and harvest whenever we want to, literally whenever we want to. Whether it's going to be this month in February or the middle of July, you just come out and harvest whatever you need, and you've got a dish. So we've got a lot more here than we'll use. So I think from now on, we're gonna be doing good on these Sunchokes. It's gonna be a regular stuff. When we want potatoes, I will come out, dig up some of these Sunchokes, and we'll be good. So you got to see a little bit of the post hole digging, making sure here, of course, that the hole is big enough for this thing to go. And it's actually a little small. I had to cut out a little more on this closest side of the hole, and on that back side. I actually didn't quite get all the soil out on those two opposite sides. But you can see here the big old root that I thought might have been irrigation. No, it wasn't. It was a big old root. And I don't know where it's from, but it's bigger at the top end, so I'd imagine it's probably from the big sycamore tree. We have roots from that sycamore tree everywhere in this yard. They're yeah, literally everywhere. And I don't worry too much. I know this thing has a tremendous network of roots. A little bit of root pruning is not going to hurt this tree at all. So it's one thing that is amazing about these big old trees is they will, and it's a very healthy tree. As long as it's healthy, we're going to keep it there. Obviously, it's a threat to our home, but it has been there through storms, thick and thin, and it's done very well. So basically, we're digging out a little more soil here. And again, you can advance this video to the 31-minute mark if you wish. It is just fine. Make this your viewing experience. That never bothers me. I do try to offer as much information and helpful advice as possible in these videos, and you're welcome to watch all the way through, or you're welcome to go on to the end product, which I'm very happy with. This was actually, the video was recorded 2 days ago on Saturday the 10th of February, and today of course is the 12th, but I'm sitting here now. So now I have these are not bypass, these are anvil snippers. Not the best thing to cut live stuff with. You really should use bypass. That's where the blade goes past the anvil. My loppers are in the hands of another person right now. I loaned them out, and they are being actively used on a big project. So I felt it was probably going to be okay in this situation. So I wasn't too worried about it. And you can see it came out pretty easy. I did have to cut a little bit more off the closer end. Okay, so the pot. The big thing about the pot, you'll notice there is plenty of drainage holes all through this. This thing is not going to hold a lot of water. I mean, it'll hold water a bit. In fact, I almost never mulch these because they just hold enough water. But you can see there it's pretty level, and that means the bottom's going to be level. But drainage holes, people, if you're putting something like this in, you need drainage holes. That's number one. Number two, you need to make sure you have a good drainage medium underneath. And this orange, and I talk about the white sand, underneath our foot or two of white sand that we have on our property is this orange sand. And I believe this is our native sand. The white, I believe, is from, well, I know where it's from. It's from the mountains up in Georgia and Alabama that wash down the rivers in this area. It's where our white sand beaches come from. I always thought that all sand came from parrotfish eating, you know, coral and stuff and shells, but our sand is unique. It's why it is so white. It is just beautiful beach. It makes for beautiful beaches, and its drainage is like nothing I have ever seen. This orange sand is pretty close to that. It's not quite as good a drainage. It does pack, but it's plenty of drainage for what we need here. And so I'm making sure to get some of this orange sand, which you can tell is mostly on top, and getting it in here to where this pot will sit as level as possible. And there's the magic for the level. I got my little ground pounder in here, my tamper, and I'm making this level. If you've never used one of these tampers, first off, they're heavy, and I use it 10 times. It feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. It's heavy, and it pounds the sand, flattens it out really good. And I'm not worried about this sand not allowing drainage after pounding it like that, because it really does. It drains amazingly. So here you can almost tell the pot is leaning toward the camera, maybe a little to the left, a little more than I like. And I want to make sure this is absolutely as level. Now you'll notice I haven't pulled out my level. It's not a perfect job. I'm pretty good at eyeing these things and feeling it under my feet. And so another thing about this sand, as you pound it, it will spread it out a little bit and level it. The reason why this tamper is so cool is as long as you're holding it straight up and down, it will actually work to level the sand. And here I got a little bit high on that side where I'm building it up, but it will actually push the sand over, and it's pretty easy to get it straight, because if you're holding this thing the way it's naturally hanging with gravity, it's always flat. I use that thing for laying paver stones and stuff, and it does really well. So now this is like almost perfect. I think I had at this point one little bit left in the middle of the pot I needed to build up. I was trying to figure out maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but I actually did put a little bit more in the middle. And I skipped forward here, of course. You can see I've already put a few inches, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches in the bottom of the pot just to kind of hold it in place, packing it in the edge, using most of this orange sand for packing around the edge, which is very important, because if you don't, this thing will split, and you don't want this thing to split and allow the roots of this very invasive plant to get out, because they will they will escape and get out, and I really don't want these things growing all across either the artichoke bed or into my yard. So this takes a little while, making sure there's sand around here. Then I kind of tamp it in a little bit, but it kind of settles down there fairly good. The irrigation did run this morning. No, it didn't. It ran the next morning. Wait, yes, it did run this morning. So it's a little moist, but it's, like I said, it drains very well, so it will not be a problem. Our grass, I think it's St. Augustine grass, will just grow right up to those pots, and it'll actually try to grow into the pots. There's a little bit of control that you have to exercise with our grass, but it's not a terrible thing to do. I will be able to keep just to the left. You see there's about 4 to 6 inches of that grass. I just need to put some of our horse bedding compost in that artichoke bed to the left so that the grass will be squelched out. So, and that artichoke plant looks beautiful. That, in fact, the one right there that looks beautiful, it's the one last year that suffered the most, and this year it is looking ready to go. Okay, so here's a lot of the sand. I don't pour quite all of it in there. I pour about half of it in there, and then I go get some, finish the load off with a horse bedding compost and dump the rest of the sand in there. And that's the soil. I mean, that's it. Now, I do grab the sharpshooter here and go up and kind of mix it in a little bit. And, okay, so I do try to do a lot of no-dig type stuff. This soil was already so disturbed. There is no structure in here, the mycorrhizal structure that we know is in the living soil that makes it so healthy. It's already very disturbed in here. It was just a necessity. So since it's already very disturbed, I'm going to mix in some of this sand with the horse bedding compost. And it's not a complete job, folks. You top dress. In fact, if you look at that bed behind me over there to the right, you see I top dressed with that horse bedding compost. Those nutrients, that biome is going to sift down into the soil and enrich it. You don't have to dig it in. It's going to do it. Nature does it. And God made this to where it will just do it on its own. And so I am about as lazy as it comes. And I will try very hard not to break my back, especially because I have in fact, I'm starting a huge job today, and I will be working very hard for the next 2 weeks. We do have a trip coming up pretty soon, and we will be away from the garden, but hopefully I will have seedlings ready to go when I get back. That's my goal. That's my goal. We're going to see if that happens. But yeah, we got a lot of seed starting videos coming up. So you can see I put a layer of sand on top, and I'm just putting sand. Sand actually works as a fairly good mulch to snip out some of the weeds and so forth. But a lot of time I will just top things with the sand. The rest of the sand I'll put in my sand pile back by the compost behind the 2 pomegranate trees, the pile that I just use occasionally. But at this point, I mean, folks, this is just 2 little pots that I harvested. And look how many sunchokes there are. This blew me away. I was so excited by it. At this point, I'm like, wow, this is it. I mentioned we're going to be doing a little bit, some of these for this health class that we have at our church right now. We get to try new foods and good foods and learn different ways to eat healthy and still just enjoy your food. But I will use most of these for that. I will be slicing some julienne style with the mandolin, and so people can try them raw. Now, folks, you do not want to eat these raw. A lot of them. I mean, 1 or 2 is okay. Don't worry about it. It has inulin in them, and these things can make you gassy, especially if you've never eaten much of these. If your body isn't used to the inulin, you will get. They don't call them Jerusalem Artichokes for nothing. They really don't. They live up to their name, and so you don't want to eat. It's nice to try a piece. They do have kind of a nutty flavor. It's really interesting, but it's so easy to counteract the inulin in here. Very easy, very easy. You just simply cook them a little bit. You can put them in a skillet. You can put them in a pot. Whatever you would do to potatoes, you can do to these. And another thing you can do is ferment. And we've done videos on both the fermenting and the cooking. Cousin Bowtie Mark, I've mentioned those videos a few times. We did a series of videos on exactly that. And I was very happy with what we discovered. And yeah, it came out great. So enjoy it. Enjoy these things. Substitute your potatoes, especially if you're diabetic, but they taste just like potatoes, folks. They really do. And you cook them exactly like you do potatoes. So whatever your favorite potato recipe is. So yeah, this is something that bugged me all year. The tops of these things kind of were invisible against all the sunchokes, so I decided, I literally had this spare can of paint, and I painted the tops of these. I also painted the tops of the posts over by that archway trellis up there as well. But makes it a little more visible. Once the sunchokes are all tall, don't need to worry about it. So very excited about how this came out. I put that lid on there just to smother some weeds. Obviously that's not going to do much. You'll see I put the tarp on there here in just a little bit with the lid on top of it to hold it down. But just trying to smother some weeds. Those sunchokes will be coming up soon. Our soil temperature right now is about 64 degrees, and they will start growing soon. So there we go. Sunchokes planted in a new bed. Nice big new bed. I'm very excited about that. I remember I'm a handyman, so I kind of overbuild things and like safety when I can get it. So I painted the tops of those posts white. It won't matter when the sunchokes are all tall, but early on in the season like now, I hate for someone to do some damage to themselves on those posts. But I happen to have a can of white paint. I would have used orange if I had it. So I basically used whatever I had to plant these sunchokes. Sunchokes are easy, folks. They are, if you want an easy crop, sunchokes is it. I don't know if it's the easiest, but it certainly is right next to it. And it's tasty. It tastes just like potatoes. And if you're diabetic or trying to cut out other starches, that right there is good stuff. Sunchokes, good stuff. Look it up. There's a lot of information on the health benefits of sunchokes. So thank you for following along today and watching the whole video if you're up to this point. You know, watching the whole video really helps support the channel that you're watching, and I appreciate that very much. Now, something I don't think I've ever revealed before is, maybe I have, I don't know, all the YouTube channels that I subscribe to, when I'm watching their videos, I watch the whole video and the ads, because that is financially and it's supporting the channels that make the video. Now, I'm not monetized yet. We are very close to it, but just watching the whole video actually improves our viewing on YouTube. So thank you for watching along. For those of you who have subscribed to Bowtie Life, you are my heroes. You have helped grow the channel to what it is today, and I am just very excited to see what we've gotten to. We are working hard to grow our channel to the next level, and once we reach that point, we can do some more things, and I'm kind of excited about that in the near future. For those just finding Bowtie Life channel on YouTube for the first time, this is my personal journal of everything going on in the garden. With my ADD brain, I've tried journaling, I've tried photography, I've tried a number of ways to record what's going on in the garden, and this just really speaks to me the most, and so I find it's the best for me and my brain. I will leave my own videos running. In fact, you'll notice there is a playlist on my YouTube page of, say, 2024 videos. And I will actually just put that on shuffle, that playlist on shuffle, and watch that while I'm getting ready in the morning. And it reminds me of things that need to be done, helps me remember what happened and everything. So anyway, like I said, it's just a record of everything going on in the garden. You'll see I did put a tarp down underneath that lid. That's just to hopefully kill out some of the weeds. It's not going to be there long. I know there are some weed seeds in there, but those sunchokes won't be popping up for another few weeks. So yeah, be sure to subscribe to Bowtie Life on YouTube so you don't miss a thing in the garden as we document everything I can that happens. And another way you can help grow the channel is click the thumbs up on this video and share it on your social media with people who may be concerned about growing invasive species or would like to grow something but haven't stepped into it yet, it's very easy to grow invasive species if you just take some measures and make it where they are not going to be invasive. So the small pots were actually experiments to see how this would work, and I would say it was a great success because looking at what grew in there in those pots, they just grew inside the pot. They tried to get out. Now you saw the pots are actually have lots of drainage holes in them. You definitely have to make sure all the drainage holes are available to make sure they don't flood. Never put a pot in the ground that doesn't have full drainage, period. No exceptions, unless you're making a pond and that'll drown most plants. Only certain plants can handle that. But anyway, Sunchokes, great plant, very easy to grow, very healthy. It's a great substitute for potatoes because it doesn't have the starches. If you're trying to go for a diet like that, this is about as easy as it gets. You stick those, you let me just throwing those things in the ground several inches in, 4 to 6 inches in, and they will grow. Of those 6, I expect all 6 to eventually grow. And even if 4 of them grow, next year there's going to be 2 dozen of them, I guarantee it. So if I didn't harvest any out of there. But yeah, I think I'm done for this video. Thanks for joining. Y'all have a blessed day.